Y'all let me know if we're 5 by 5 and we'll get this thing rolling. Please and thank you in advance. How is everybody? Hopefully chatty and hopefully ready for the collapse of the United States of America. It's going to be one of those unfortunate, depressing videos, right? Um, see who we have in the house. Joan T, how are you doing? Good evening slash nighttime. I don't really know what to call it. It's that weird time of the day. Let me see. Kevin Fallon, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Um, Meta Solo, thank you very much. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into that. That's a great comment, Kevin Solo. Um, or excuse me, Meta Solo with the spam icon, right? I think we've been in free fall for a bit now. We'll get into that. Jules, good evening from Canada. Good evening. Red Dog, regulators mount up. Bro, I didn't finish the movie, but I was literally just watching that movie with my wife last night. She fell asleep like 10 minutes in, but she was like, "Wait a minute. Isn't that old rap song thing at the beginning?" I said, "Yeah, it is." Village Stetter, how are you doing? Cobra, Mike McDonald, first of all, thank you. You know why. Second of all, I brought Axis and Allies back out because I got to tell you this real quick. I don't know if you know this or not. The newest Axis and Allies, they're killing me, Mike. The newest one is G.I. Joe and Cobra themed. And I don't want to buy it because I want to spend my money on other stuff. Things are tight like they are for everybody right now. But I'm like, daggone it. Can Trump please get in the White House so I can get this thing? I really want it, but I don't need another copy. Danny Olson, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. Luke B, how are you? Desert Frog. So, and all you usual suspects, thank you for being here. Moose Fur, what's up? Moderators, thank you very much. And again, remember, when we go in the mornings, it's going to be 9:30 a.m., 8:30 p.m. when we go in the evening. So tomorrow, this is what it's looking like. Radioactive podcast with Backwoods. We've got that scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9:30, right? And we're going to be covering tons of stuff. So I got to stick to the program here tonight. I don't want to cover stuff we're going to be talking tomorrow. It's always the quiet ones. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. And then tomorrow night we should be live as well. Don't hold me to it, but I want to be live tomorrow night like we are tonight. Again, same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're officially in the collapse. Do you agree or disagree with that before we move forward? I'm just throwing it into the chat. We're having a friendly chat tonight about gloom and doom and oh my God, bite your fingernails, son, and be terrified and hide under the bed and in the closet and suck your thumb and go watch clickbait Nate and all that stuff, right? Agreed. Let me see. True Texan agreed. Melissa agreed. Danny agreed. Troy. Okay, so pretty much everybody. And if you're brand new here, you can disagree. It's okay. I don't get upset about that. Um, but yeah, we're gonna talk about that. That's the topic tonight that I'm trying to stick to because again, I don't want to step on backwoods toes. I'm drinking lemon zinger tea tonight, by the way. So I have to tell you where this topic originated. This is not the baby mobile thing that we were talking about yesterday. Okay, this is not spin the wheel and hey, let's talk about America's. We're in collapse. Excuse me. I'm sitting in a parking lot yesterday. So we hit the Amish store. I put a picture of some produce on Instagram for anybody that's really bored. But my wife hit a few other stores around this area, and I'm sitting in the parking lot. And when you're in a parked car and there's nothing else to do, you either play on the phone, but I don't really like to do that, or you people watch. Can we be honest about that? I'm a people watcher, son. I've been a people watcher for a long time. It helps when I do actually do some writing, but I digress. Point is, I'm sitting in a car and I'm looking over here, almost out of sight, but they're there. Is a little, I think it's a Verizon store, and they got a table set up outside. They've got beach balls. They've got signs up everywhere. People are sitting at the tables. ready to sign people up for a 2-year deal. I guess a 2-year contract with a free phone. Come over here, sign up for $100 a month for the next 2 years. We'll give you a free phone. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Hopefully do anyway. Hopefully they do this in other places. And then I look this way, and this is something I've not seen in this area before, but I'm going to be on the lookout for it moving forward. It's like a blue tent, and it had the most generic signs I've ever seen, but they said free smartphones, free tablets. And there's just a dude sitting there, and there are people in line for the free ones. There's nobody down here on the other end at Verizon. And so my wife gets in. I'm like, what is exactly going on here? You know what I mean? I've not seen anything like this before. Thank you, Daryl P. They do it around there too. They've been doing it here a lot more often though. I think they need money. You know what I'm saying? So good in the woods. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And look for a post in the members section tomorrow. Okay, there's a special post coming up. So anyway, I asked my wife what these are, and she said, if you're on some kind of assistance like EBT, food stamps, Medicaid, something like that, you take this to them, or fuel assistance, I think she said as well, and you qualify for a free phone and tablet. I ain't looking down on anybody, but I see this, and she's explaining this to me, and then I look back down here, and I'm thinking to myself, we're doing something wrong here, son. Here in the United States of America, there's something going on that I don't really know how to explain. But we're doing it the wrong way. We're doing it totally backwards. Okay? Because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I overthink stuff. This is one of the many reasons I can't sleep, right? This and Van Damme movies, I was just telling Dynamite yesterday. But I digress. The point is, we're doing something wrong. Because I'm looking down here at this table, you sign a 2-year contract at $100 a month. What incentive do you have at this point to go down here and get under a contract or an agreement for 2 years where they're going to charge you back if you try and break the agreement to get a free phone when you can get the same free phone by being unemployed, by needing some sort of assistance? And again, I'm not looking down on people. I understand people need assistance. I've said this in the past. I would have literally starved to death as a child if it wasn't for free lunches at school and food stamps. My mom was working. She was working her tail off, right? But not until she was eventually a hospice nurse. Then she was making decent money. But as a single parent, she just couldn't do it. She couldn't swing it with 2 kids, right? So I get that some people need help, but meet me in the middle here. There's a lot of abuse that's going on right now. There are a lot of 20-somethings, 30-somethings, people that are even Gen X in my generation that are drawing substantial checks from the government for doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. I know a guy who gets substantial checks, and his kids get them because he's disabled over his back. And on the side, he delivers furniture and gets paid cash. There's all kinds of abuse going on. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't a rat. I'm not going to rat this guy out, but this is happening all over the place. As much as we pick on illegals, and yeah, they're huge offenders, but we got plenty of Americans that are screwing us over. Bona fide citizens. And so as I'm looking at this, again, I'm overthinking it. I go from a free phone and tablet tent. Come get the new iPhone 15, just bring, the fact you got full-blown Medicaid. Here's an iPhone 15, son. I'm overthinking this, I guess. It's at a certain point, but I'm like, the working class is either retiring now or they are setting up for retirement. Okay, some boomers are retiring now. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. These are people that work their entire lives. They're trying to get out while they still have a little 401k left. before Joe takes that from them. And then Generation X, myself included, we've made that pivot over. We're like, how can we survive? How can we retire? How can we get out of the rat race? These are all tax-paying people I'm talking about that are retiring. The next working class that is here to replace them, because again, most, not all, most young people, they'll tell you straight to your face, they're not going to work 40 hours a week. Okay. Again, I'm not picking on them. There are literally thousands of videos on YouTube where they make their case for that. And there's a case to be made, believe it or not. But the point is, the next working class to replace Gen X and the boomers, they don't speak English. And guess what else they don't do? They don't pay taxes. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this is going to leave virtually no tax revenue, point of sale tax revenue, but I'm talking about income taxes. Where's the government going to get its money 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if we're still here? Where's the United States going to get the money that they need to pay off the debt that they have on money that they spent recklessly? Where are they going to get it? I don't understand what the plan is, but I think America is in its twilight years. And I know by saying that, some people will say it's not over till it's over. It's never over, okay? Some people will point to Trump. And I get that argument as well. I do think Trump, is trying to help the United States. I do. He's an elitist. He doesn't know. He didn't grow up on food stamps and have to survive on school lunches and things like that. I have nothing in common with the man except for the fact that I think he's worried about his children and eventually his grandchildren. So am I. I got this in common with the man, but he's only going to ease things up for a few years at best. We're going to run aground soon enough. This is my personal opinion on that. Okay. There's a new one. Thank you very much, Art Nanny. Good evening. I get disability. Okay, because my boobs tried to kill me, but I worked for years in the legal and education field, and no guilt here. No, there shouldn't be any guilt. I'm not pointing to every single person. I promise you, I'm not pointing to people. There are people that legitimately do need and deserve help. We do need programs. It's just that when these programs were set up, they weren't set up to support 50% of the United States of America. You understand what I'm saying? But no, absolutely. There need to be people on disability. I know people on disability right now that are deserving of it, and they have worked most of their life. They're truly disabled. But again, I know people that get disability because they're hoarders and they're 28 years old. Strapping young men that can do they can function. And I'm just like, something is broken somewhere within the government, which ain't hard to believe, right? So let's talk about boots on the ground for a minute. Thank you again, Art Nanny. Because I see this so much. I know y'all see it too, man. Boots on the ground. People have been talking about the subs that off the coast of Florida. What they're actually saying is international waters. They're docked in Cuba. This the sub. Okay, this sub's got 10 nukes on it. Listen, Russia's opening this submarine up, I think, for 4 days, and they're allowing Cuban citizens to come and tour the sub. So I'm doubting very seriously that this is D-Day 2.0. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, okay? 4 ships, one's a tanker, one's a tugboat, one is a battleship. It's one of their newest ones actually, and then a submarine. But we hear about boots on the ground. Russia's positioning to invade. And we're going to get into that some tomorrow because we're going to be talking about all of South America and perhaps another Cold War not necessarily just these 4 ships, right? Freedom of navigation, absolutely. Who said that? James Mills. Absolutely. They have the freedom to do this. And I know this because we literally do this all of the time. I can remember so many times when we've taken hardware right past the coast of China, taunting them right past the coast. Shut up and take it, right? Because of freedom of navigation. Well, now that it's being done to us, now all of a sudden everybody, oh my God, we're getting ready to be invaded, right? Um, don't provide money, provide jobs, get rid of grift. No problem with that whatsoever. Thank you very much. No J and DOJ, totally agree with that name as well. Um, we'll get into Hunter tomorrow. I don't want to step on backwoods toes, you know what I mean? So speaking of backwoods, J954, I heard that you met him at the meetup. That's pretty awesome. Just an FYI, 9mm went up 5 cents a round overnight. Thank you. Stock up, stock up, stock up. I am on 9mm and 12 gauge, especially. Stocked up on both of those. Not going to say to the rafters or to the moon, but enough, right? So I've also heard, China is preparing for a ground war invasion of the United States. And I'm not putting anybody down. Uh-oh. I might put him down. Backwoods, what's going on? Why pay taxes when the government prints money from thin air? And you really should wash your face. We'll discuss things tomorrow morning, sir. But good evening to you. So let me ask you a question, and this is a legitimate question for the chat. Let me know what you think, or the replay crowd, please leave a comment on this. Think about the United States. My favorite animal is the lion. Okay. I literally have a lion tattooed on the back of my neck for anybody that doesn't know. Not to get too much into it, but it's biblical. They're protectors and all of this stuff. If you have a critically injured lion and this thing is dying, would you go up to this thing and try and fight it, knowing that it still has the ability, once you get close enough, to do a lot of damage and maybe take you down before it goes down? Would you do that? Or would you just stand a few hundred yards away and eat popcorn and watch the lion die? You understand what I'm saying? It's an analogy here, son. But look, China, Russia, they don't have to invade us. We're a critically wounded lion. There's no recovering from where we are at. Tell me what it would take for this country to completely do a 180. There's so many things that would have to fall into place. We would have to see an end of lobbying straight up, right? Tyrants would have to be held accountable. We would have to go straight back to the original Constitution as it was intended to be. We would have to hold the WHO accountable, the CDC accountable. All of this stuff would have to fall into place. Now ask yourself, and that's not even factoring in the $34 trillion in debt. I don't know how you even fix that, but ask yourself, how do you fix that at this point? How does anybody go in and fix that? Because the first thing, fair point, new leadership all around. Okay, but listen, the first thing that you're going to need, and hopefully you agree with me on this, is you need a population that gives a crap. You need a majority of the United States American citizens to actually care about being free, to actually be tired enough of the tyranny to stand up and do something about it. And until that changes, nothing else is going to change, and we're in a total tailspin, in my opinion. J954, yes, sir, I met Backwoods and Hutch. That's right, he was there, and the rest of the crew. Incredible hospitality. He's always mean to me, man. Hutch is. I was very appreciative of everyone. I'm proud to have new friends. That's awesome. Thank you again. It's awesome that you got to meet them. Very cool. You have to have people that care. And until that changes, sometimes people leave the comments, and I appreciate this comment. I agree with this comment. People in this country need to turn back to God. Okay. Not try and turn it to a big religious thing here, but it's the truth. But also, what is the truth is people are not going to do that in mass. You'll have pockets of it here and there, but this country has moved far away from the word of God. They've moved far away from the Constitution. And worst of all, they don't seem to care about it as long as their conveniences continue to roll in. People do not care about freedom when they're getting free cell phones and free tablets for doing absolutely nothing. And that's a problem. That's a problem for me. Now, I think there's going to be a huge fight after the fact. But then we start getting into after the fact, and I'm talking about the collapse of the United States as we know it, okay? Going to be a huge fight at that point. That point you're going to see boots on the ground because I think there's several countries that are interested in the land. They don't want the population. They don't want a country with 50% of people that won't hit a lick. They just want the resources. They may take the working class and stuff like this. You're going to see a fight at that point, and you're going to see patriots, I think, fight at that point. But are we looking at the end of the world when we see this collapse? Because I see that comment a lot. This is in Revelations. This is the end of the world. Be prepared spiritually, which you should be just as a fail safe. I'm just saying. Or is this just the fall of another great empire? This has all happened before, time and time again. Two things that always lead to the fall of great empires: social and moral decay. People start normalizing things that at the beginning of that kingdom they did not normalize, they did not allow, and defaulting on debts, which is usually endless wars and social welfare programs that have ballooned through the roof. These two things have crashed so many countries. So many. The most recent example is the USSR, right? We hear people in this country all the time, the pro-Ukrainians, man, Putin's trying to reassemble the USSR. Why would he want to? The USSR went down the same road that we're going down right now. It ballooned out of control because nobody would work, and they got caught up in a Cold War, which I think we're in right now, and they went bankrupt. Why would he want to do that again? I'm sure he wants some of the resources. There's no denying that. But I think you're gonna see a fight after the fact. All right, between several bad actors. But when you take a look at the United States of America, we've got, man, this is how crazy it is, okay? I mean, it sounds like I'm up here beating a drum and, oh my God, again, gloom and doom, blah, 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 blah. We have illegals in New York City who are stealing from the homemade stores on the sidewalks that are set up by other illegals who stole the goods from the store inside. You know what I'm saying? Go check out Cash Jordan on YouTube. This stuff's all documented. Illegals go in, they can steal as long as it's below $1,000. Most of the time, the police don't even show up anymore because it's not a felony. They're not going to arrest them anyway. So they go in, they steal $800-900 worth. They take it outside. They put it on their little makeshift blankets like we're in Afghanistan, and they start selling the stuff. Well, now these thieves have resorted to trying to call the police because other illegals are stealing from them outside. This is the country we're in right now. We've got record numbers of Americans leaving the workforce, being replaced again by people that are not speaking English, not paying taxes. This is a problem. with the way our country spends money, this is a huge issue for me. Um, and again, we have a government that just continues to spend money that we don't have. Maybe we'll get into it tomorrow. I don't know. But Joe just committed us to 10 more years of Ukraine. We got you back for 10 years. 10 more years, at least. I don't know. If Trump gets in there, he may be able to break the agreement. I don't know how it's written. But no J and DOJ, thank you. Socialists forgot that hammer and sickle means work. Yeah, well, they're going to find out. They're going to find out very quickly. But they're not forward thinking. You know, what's free today? What am I getting in the mail today for free? What can I go pick up for free? What's in it for me? This is how they're thinking about it, in my opinion. So where does this leave us as preppers? James says, facts are facts, are straight. Facts don't come with points of view. Facts don't do. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 1,000%. And when you look at the amount of money we're spending, and then you take a look at the tax revenue that's coming in and the amount of people that are retiring or preparing to retire, I mean, something's got to give. Either they're, in my opinion, I'm not trying to start no rumors going around here. Here's what I think is going to happen in my heart of hearts, though. These illegals that are working and not paying taxes, the government is going to need money, and the government's going to say, we need to give these people citizenship so they can start paying taxes. I don't think most of these people are going anywhere, to be honest with you. Um, really? You had to super chat it. You couldn't have just put it in all caps. uh, yeah, Chewbacca. Thank you, brother. We may need it. We may need it in the next 10 years. Yeah, it absolutely counts. So I don't believe in scaring people on this channel, in case you're new. Okay, if you're one of these people, I'm not judging you, but if you're one of these people and you wake up every morning and your hands are shaking because you just can't wait to be afraid by the next big thing, and your little scrotum gets hard, and you're sitting there and you're turning on the clickbait, and you're just feeding into it. It's like an umbilical cord from your brain to somebody trying to sell you something out of fear. This is probably not the channel for you. I'm just going to tell you straight up. We don't do that here. If you're a prepper, you don't need to be afraid. If you want to be entertained, hey, that's great. I've heard some people say, well, this creator, I just watch them because they're entertaining. This, hey, man, I watch stuff because it's entertaining too. Again, I started Young Guns last night. I need to finish it. Again, it's been a minute, but it's probably not a channel for you if you just want to be afraid all of the time. We don't do that here because, and I'm going to tell you why. Fear junkies. There you go. Who said that? Fear. They're out there. Again, I'm not judging fear junkies, but they exist. I know they exist because the channels that peddle fear, they got millions of subscribers. Somebody's watching, right? We know what's going on here. But listen, here's why I don't do it. Because the truth is scary enough. All joking aside for a second, and the scrotum jokes and stuff, people gonna be leaving nasty comments over that. I assure you, the truth is scary enough. When you sit here and you think about the fact that we're being overrun at the border, that we're running aground in terms of financially, we got no money left. We're beyond broke. When you've got cities that are being overrun with crime, and instead of fighting the crime, they're declaring themselves sanctuary cities for rainbow groups and things like this. And most importantly, once again, the mass population could give two squats. To me, that's scary enough. I don't need I don't need to be entertained with talk of nukes and, oh my God, do this and boots on the ground invasion. Look, the enemies are already here. The enemies are in DC. The enemies are in DC, and you follow the money, you follow the lobbyists, you find out who is really in control of this country. Once you realize that you're just a cog in a wheel, and you have no real freedom to speak of, to me, that's scary enough. Because again, people do not give a crap. But when this thing breaks down, again, not trying to scare you, just giving you the truth here, okay? When this thing finally breaks down, it finally comes completely off of the rails. Yeah, you can fear or you can focus. If you stay focused, not trying to get sidetracked, but that's a great comment. If you focus on the prepping, if you know the country is collapsing, again, they've done it time and again. So you have points of reference to study from. You can find out this good ran dry, this medication ran out. You can find what the shortages are to figure out what to stack, what to grow. If you're prepared, you're going to survive the collapse. Doesn't mean it's not going to be nasty. It's going to be nasty, but you can survive it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but when this collapse happens, we're going to have hundreds of millions, statistically, again, facts. Most people are not preppers here in the United States of America. If you base it on percentages and you look at the people who are not prepping, you're going to have hundreds of millions of desperate people who are going to be roaming around willing to do anything for the things that you have. If you've done your homework, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. Putting a 1 in the chat backwoods. I forgot all about that, man. I appreciate that. Um, you're constantly being monitored. Constantly. We're just talking about phones. They're giving out free phones for a reason. Constantly being monitored. You have a government that has proven time and again they will do anything. They don't care. Your rights go out of the window the moment they deem it necessary. Again, facts. Google it. Hurricane Katrina, start there, okay? 9/11, maybe start there. They will, and they always try to disarm you. They're always chipping away at the Second Amendment. You're the bad guy because you want to new member. Okay, welcome, Dynamite. Um, they're constantly chipping away at the Second Amendment, right? We know this. They're constantly trying to eliminate free speech. Anybody that's a content creator on this platform knows this. Again, facts. Some of your family members will turn on you. I'm not talking about your immediate family, but again, facts. Go back to the pandemic. Look how many family members said, hey, don't come to dinner unless you bring your little card with you so we can make sure that you got the whiskey shot. Your neighbors will turn you in. Some of them. I got pretty good neighbors, but some people don't. We saw this during COVID. Again, facts. People snitching on each other. Yep. Hey, son, look, I'm at this address and they got 8 people at the house. I counted them going in, and I don't think they've had the whiskey shot. And I see that they don't have the windows open. Can you send some black and whites over here? You know what I'm saying? Pure blood Bama. Trying to grab that comment. It happened to me. Not going to happen to everybody, not going to apply to everybody, but it does happen to people. Thank you for posting that. And you're not the only one I've seen post that. You have people studying your every move out in public. I'm not saying everybody you see is studying. Most of them are walking in the walls hunting Pokemon or something like that, or Facebooking or whatever they're doing. But you do have werewolves out there. They are studying. You do have people that are paying attention. You have to be careful right now. You cannot afford to go into a Lowe's and buy $600 or Home Depot, buy $600 worth of gear that could be checked off as prepping gear, because somebody's going to see that. You know what I'm saying? Cashier, customer, perhaps they're going to remember your face. Perhaps they know you. They're going to remember your name. This invites trouble. You've got news sources constantly trying to brainwash you. Constantly. We're not the only country, but I mean, let's be fair. And your country is becoming a third world country right in front of your very eyes, while most of your countrymen and women are sitting around playing on cell phones, being entertained. What's it called? Bread and circuses, things like this, sports and things. I like sports, okay, but I'm not obsessed over it. I care more about the future of my kids than I do sports. You know what I'm saying? People are entertained by shiny things while their country is becoming Afghanistan. How much scarier do you need it to get? Seriously. I'm gonna leave you all with that until in the morning. Y'all take care and God bless.